This is Comics Coast to Coast.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Dunaway, and you're listening to Comics Coast to Coast, episode 212, the Daniel Lieske interview, part 2. That's right, we got Daniel back only after maybe a mere 30 episodes, maybe, Joel? Is that about right? 187,
give or take.
I think.
187 was the last one,
right.
And I'm excited. We didn't get enough time with Daniel last time, so
we totally not. We talked about it before the show. We went back and listened, and we was like, oh man, we went straight to Nerdville, and we forgot to ask a lot of important technical and artistic questions, which Daniel is fantastic at as well. And also with us is first Joel Duggan, you're a Starcrossed Online.
That is me.
.com. Go check that out.
Well,
and
I'm me. That's my comic.
Less you.
Right.
But that's practically you.
Sorry.
Right. Because you live in like a dating world comic thing, right? That's all you, right? All right.
Starcrossed online dating. It's a joke. It's a jokey sci-fi comic about online dating that goes horribly, horribly wrong.
Or horribly right. And also with us is Matthew Ducharme, Matt the Wad. Matthew.
Hey there.
How you doing? Last time we had Daniel on, you were not here with us. This time you get to talk to Daniel. Are you excited?
I so am excited because I learned that you guys were talking about everything except technical stuff, and that's just where I want to dive right into.
Excellent. And also with us tonight is our special guest back again, Daniel. How are you, sir?
Hi, thanks for having me again, guys.
Oh, we love you.
So cool. It's like coming home, you know?
Right? Yeah, we had talked about it last time at the end of the show. I think we kind of ran out of time, and so we're like, oh, we got to have you back on. And see, we kept our promise. We did just that.
That's so cool. I had so much fun. I'm so looking forward to this.
Right. And for those who don't know, we usually record on Thursday nights. And when we talk to Daniel, we have to talk to him on Saturdays usually because time zones are a big difference. Daniel is in Germany still.
Oh boy, time zones. I hate those.
Right. And so it's around noontime here in the eastern part of the United States. But over there is, 6 p.m.?
Yes, it's 6 p.m.
Very good. We're not interrupting dinner, are we?
No. Not yet.
Not yet. So let's get on with it. Move on, because I've got to eat my...
I'm hungry.
Right. I've got to eat my...
No problem.
Right. I got to eat my bratwurst. That's what we think you all eat in Germany.
And my sauerkraut.
And your sauerkraut, of course.
I want my sauerkraut now!
Yeah, if you ask Dunaway, he's probably picturing you in Lederhosen. That's just how his mind works.
Well,
I'm sitting in a framework house with Lederhosen, eating sauerkraut, of course.
That's okay.
What,
you can
you
picture
aren't?
Brian Dunaway in like a cowboy hat or whatever.
Totally.
I always do that.
Right. I've actually got my football helmet on. I'm sitting here with my football jersey, and I've got a beer.
All right.
And some.
His car's on cement blocks in the
And
front
are you
lawn.
carrying a gun at this moment?
I do have my gun sitting. I have my concealed weapons permit, and it's right here. And I've got some red
From my
meat.
dead cold hands.
Charlton Heston is over here, back from the dead, sitting watching a little bit of TV. And is he not
I guess
dead?
he's smelling a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of red meat cooking on the grill outside. So
Wow.
Okay, we've hit all the stereotypes.
I think we have. Excellent. So all right. So
Yeah, it's good to get this stuff out of our ways right at the beginning.
we're all done with it. It's all out there.
Cool.
Now let's jump straight in because you, sir, are doing do a wonderful comic. If you didn't hear the last episode, you do Wormworld Saga, and that's at WormWorldSaga.com.
Yeah,
And
right.
That's
and
right.
And in the meantime, I actually learned to say Wormworld Saga, not Wormworld Saga. So,
But I like it the
I'm
other
making
way.
progress there.
I like it the other way. So kind of give us a real quick elevator pitch for Wormworld Saga, just to remind the people.
Yeah, it's basically the good old Portal fantasy story. You have
Yes.
this little guy called Jonas who finds this secret portal to another world in an old attic at Granny's old farmhouse, and he's going through the portal because he has got some problems with his father and life in general and stuff like that. And he's lured into this shiny portal that brings him to a world where he hopes to escape all his problems and his all the stuff that's bothering him in the real world, and just to find out that it's all getting worse over beyond the threshold. He becomes responsible for saving the world, and fighting an evil god of fire, and he's so afraid of fire. That's his biggest problem.
Right.
So it's really, well, not good for him, but good for us because it makes for exciting storytelling.
It makes for great storytelling, and I'll tell you, as a child who was greatly traumatized by homework, he's trying to escape. He's trying to escape from that world of parental overbearing hand of do your homework.
I was gonna say he nailed the tone of at least my childhood, so I have to guess that this is a pretty common story for most artistic kids.
Right.
Just kind of sort of just barely making it through school, sketching on everything.
Yeah.
Doing whatever it takes to get through to get to the fun stuff again,
Right. And I'll tell you that.
But actually, my childhood wasn't at all like this. I had a very easy childhood with a lot of playing. Basically, I could do all the stuff that Jonas is longing for.
Right.
I did not grow up in the city. I grew up in the vicinity of a big wood, and I played in it all the time. And my parents never had to tell me to do my homework and stuff like that. So this is all completely made up.
Completely made up. But it's such a great story. I do love the Portal story, like Chronicles of Narnia and many others, because it's such a. I think we all dream of that. It's a common desire, I think, and you'll even see it today on the internet. You're constantly seeing people post pictures of, I found a secret compartment or something in my house. Here's a picture of it. Should we open it up? It's kind of almost a little game of what's in the mystery hole. And
of course.
I guess that's what was that movie with the actor? Of course, the actor. He was a movie. John Malkovich. John Malkovich. Did you see that?
Great film.
Great film.
Movie.
Love that film. Joel, did you see that one?
I didn't. I'm not a big Malkovich fan.
What?
I know. Gasp.
Did you like Con Air?
No.
Fine.
That was your next go-to.
Con Air.
Yeah. I tell you,
Con Air as a Malkovich movie.
Yeah. There's the two movies that I remember Malkovich from as of recently were Transformers 3,
right,
in which I wanted to throttle him. And then there was another Coen Brothers film that he was in where he was like a murderer, like he was a psychopath.
Right.
He was in this awful Dungeons and Dragons film. He was no. It was Aragon. He was the bad guy in Aragon.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't see that one. I saw the trailers. I was aware of it. Yeah. I chose to avoid it.
That's like a young adult novel, isn't it? Like the Aragon series.
Right.
Yeah. Are the books good? Because the movie did not look very good.
I've never read them, and the movie it was quite mediocre, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm fairly certain I saw it, but I'll be damned if I can tell you anything about it.
There was a dragon.
That's about all I can remember.
There's usually dragons involved. So, Wormworld Saga. Before we get off on our nerd tangent again, do you see that maybe one day being a full length film? Because I would love to see this as a full length film when you get through the story.
Always this question. I get it quite often. I think it's that comes with the style that I chose for my story. It's very cinematic. I'm trying to imagine a virtual camera for every shot. I like to have a proper background in every shot, so that every shot, the scenery and the background really work in every shot. So I kind of provoke this question, I guess.
Right.
WormWorld Saga. And I would say that I would love to see it as an Japanese animated movie. Actually, that would be my dream. Actually, because I love those movies so much, and I love the style, and I'm very much inspired by all the Ghibli movies and more recent animes too. And I love this hand painted background style that they have perfected over there in Japan. But I know that this is a very very high shot, because
you gotta dream big. What's the use of dreaming if you're not going to do it big?
Yeah, right. But I would really say that this would rather be my dream as opposed to the typical this might get big in Hollywood dream. Because I'm listening to a lot of podcasts about entertainment movies and screenwriting and stuff like that, and all I hear is that the system in Hollywood is pretty much screwed up.
Right.
It's hard to keep a vision original and stuff like that. A lot of people are involved in it, and I don't really know. Not that I'm in a position to worry about that. I don't want to sound like someone who has the problem that Hollywood isn't treating his material the right way.
I don't even want your money, Hollywood. Take it back.
But if you ask me about my dreams, I would say a Japanese animated movie would be so cool.
Right. Now, Ghibli is recently they've laid some people off. They've did some rearranging. Have you kind of kept up with that?
Well, all I heard was that they were closing their doors.
Right.
When it comes to producing movies, they sure will keep their existing properties and market them.
Right.
But no new Ghibli movies. And this is a very sad thing, I've got to say.
Right. Super, super sad. What's your favorite one? Do you have a pick?
Oh, that's so hard because everyone has its very own special qualities. I really love Howl's Moving Castle.
Did we talk about this last time?
It's starting to ring a bell.
Did we? Dang it!
Yeah, but I also love Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away. I love them all.
Yeah.
I actually love the older ones too. I love Kiki's Delivery Service and stuff like that because it's such a small story, but emotionally deep, and it always moves me.
Right.
It's cool. Really, you should watch them all.
Totally.
I gotta bring this to the technical side because there's some questions I'm dying to ask here. Like your background work is just it's phenomenal, and I was wondering, like, you have such a great sense of lighting and such in there. Like, do you use references for that? Is it all out of your head? Like, how do you go about making some of these backgrounds and having such convincing lighting for them?
Well, I would say it's a mixture. But first, thank you for saying that my backgrounds are good. I would say that it's a mixture because in some cases I actually use reference. What I like to do is to work out a lighting situation of a very specific scenery. I like to make very rough 3D models. For example, if you're looking at the latest chapter 6, there's a scene in a throne room. And I modeled this throne room in 3D in Blender, and I experimented with the lighting because I wanted to have a lighting that is that has contrasts in it, that also tells a story, because I wanted certain characters be hit by direct sunlight and others more in indirect light and stuff like that, and to find the right lighting angles and stuff like that, I use the 3D model. When it comes to the actual painting, what I like to do is to break up my illustration process, so that in most cases I illustrate the whole scene in diffuse lighting first, and then I add layers that add direct lighting to the scene, so that I'm flexible, so that when I see I need more light in this corner or that corner, I can change it in one layer and don't have to rework the whole details, for example, or the textures.
Okay,
so this
just
technique,
to rephrase, it sounds like basically like you're doing as though everything's kind of uniformly lit at first.
Yeah,
and
right.
and then you'll do the differences afterwards. Is that basically the idea?
Yeah, basically, because I coming from the game industry, I did a lot of 3D graphics in my past, and what you normally do in 3D is you render all your light sources as separate passes, and then you combine them. You have a path where you only have ambient occlusion, diffuse light, light from the sky and stuff like that, where everything looks very softly lit,
right?
And then you have passes for every direct light source, and you can mix them in Photoshop and can compose your light situation this way. And I'm doing exactly that, only that I'm not rendering my layers, but I'm painting them.
Interesting, because I can tell that lighting is definitely paramount in your work.
There are a lot of scenes, outdoor scenes, especially in the latest chapter, where you have vistas of the city, where you have shadows, buildings throwing shadows on other buildings, and light peeking through clouds and stuff like that. And this is actually very fun to do if you paint the whole cityscape in diffuse lighting first, and then add a layer with direct light, and you can paint with light then, because you just mask away the parts of the direct light that you don't like to see, and it's very flexible. It's a little bit like moving a light source through your work, and I love this combination of painting and compositing.
Right.
So, how many layers of light do you tend to have in a typical piece?
Well, I break up my background illustration into depth layers. So if I have a foreground, a midground, and a background, I have one diffuse layer for each of those depth. And then I add to each of these layers at least one light layer. There might be two if you have a secondary light source or stuff like that. And then I normally add layers for fog and haze and smoke between those, so that I can work with that too. And if the background has to go a little bit further into the background, then I dial up the fog layer and stuff like that. And this brings me to this process is not kept until the very end, because the result would look a little bit too technical, but it brings the image to about 85%, 90% maybe, and then I'm investing some time to do retouch and well, use all sorts of techniques with overlay brushes and stuff like that to enhance light glows or colors and stuff like that, so that the actual result doesn't look too technical or composed. It should in the end look like a painting.
Right. That sounds like an incredibly refined process. Is this something that you refined over time, or did you learn this?
Well, definitely.
Somebody showing you, or
I refined it over time, and I'm actually not using it on every background.
Right.
And normally, what I do is when I enter a new scene, I use this technique very carefully to create the first establishing shot or different important shots of the scene. And when through this process, I acquired the different colors of the background and the different values, then I can take these and paint directly other panels that play in the same scene, because I can just take the colors and values from the panels that I constructed and can paint them from scratch. So it's a mixture. I don't use this process all the time.
Right. So you mean you'll use the process that you described in detail. You'll use that for like one big establishing shot, and then you'll kind of use that image and take the various colors and tones from that for other scenes for other shots in the same scene.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually do it on the characters too. My typical workflow would be, if I enter a new scene with new lighting, I would construct the characters also with those layers to find the way they are lit. For example, my standard challenge always is, how does Jonas's red sweater look in a specific scene? How dark is the red, or is it tinted in any way? So I try to find answers to these questions through the compositing process. And when I'm happy how it turned out, I just reuse the exact colors and values in all other panels, and in those I normally don't have to use this layer technique, because it's just taking the colors from the first panel that I had constructed, and then it's much faster to just use the colors and paint in the traditional way, so to say.
Right.
Wow, awesome.
So okay, for those who don't know what Blender is, it's a free application you can get.
Yeah,
correct?
right.
And I've messed around with it a little bit, and back in the day, I thought about doing some stuff with 3D Studio Max, and I learned it as much as I could, and then I moved on to Blender because it was free, and I felt like the learning curve was a little bit greater at that point. Didn't feel like there was as many resources, but that was probably like 6 years ago or so. Is it a lot more refined now, Blender? Is it a lot more is the community there for support if you have a question, like, I don't know what I'm doing with this part of it, can I come ask? Or do you not even bother? You're just so dang smart, you just figured out on your own.
What helped me is that I know all the other packages from my gaming background, and it helps that Blender has well, you have basically if you start it, you have the option to navigate it like Maya, for example,
Right.
or 3D Studio. So you actually know how to navigate it from the get-go if you are used to those programs.
Right.
But there's a lot of start tutorials on the website, and you find a lot on YouTube if you have a specific problem. It took me a few weeks to really get used to it, because Blender does some stuff very different to the traditional or the commercial packages.
Right.
And you have to get used to that. But since I'm only using it for really, really simple blockings, I'm not really have the problem to get all this detail, to go into the details with it, because I don't want to do my stuff in 3D. It's just
right. It's just a tool, just to get what you want. Right. Yeah.
And what's cool about Blender is that it has this render engine which is called Cycles, which does real physical light computing, which is very cool for my purpose, because if I build a very rough blocking of a room or something like that, I can just put one light source in it, and this Cycles render engine takes care of all the spilled light and indirect light. Wow. And it's pretty fast too, so that's a cool tool for prototyping.
It really is, and because as artists, we need a lot of references for material, because if you don't know it, you can't draw it. And so I mean, lighting has always been a challenge for me, because lighting gets very complicated in a real life situation, and you don't have a lot of control over it sometimes, as much as you would like, and so it's kind of hard to capture it sometimes, and it changes. It's constantly changing. But if you have built in a 3D world, you set those parameters just like you want, and that's a really good technique.
Well, and I would add to this that it's not only a technical problem. You also have to solve the aesthetical problems of lighting, because you have to light a scene in a way that it works visually. Because in the end, an image or a painting is an abstract thing, a composition of abstract forms.
Right.
If you just try to ignore all the information in it, a character is an abstract shape, and lighting can very much change the character of this shape. Right. If you have strong direct lighting, a character gets broken up into a dark side and a light side, and you have two shapes. Where in diffuse lighting, the character becomes one single shape that is then differentiated through the different colors of the character and stuff like this. It's a very interesting problem to solve.
Wow.
Have you ever tried anything like Sculptress or ZBrush for more complex organic stuff? Because I've only just recently discovered Sculptress, which for people that don't know, it's kind of like ZBrush's baby sister. Just a free download from the same company, and then they can use the same render engine. And I've seen some digital concept artists recently that have been doing a lot of ZBrush sculpting and then dropping that black and white render into Photoshop to then paint on top of and add textures and do all the things that they normally do. And I can certainly see how, even if you are, working as a traditional painter or concept artist these days, that, getting into the 3D and starting to at least be somewhat familiar with it, even at like you said, as a prototyping tool, is just going to be essential in the future for working quickly. Because reading I reread chapter 5 and 6, in preparation for the interview, and I'm just thinking, like, man, the amount of work in that and love that goes into the backgrounds and the artwork. I mean, like, you must be just looking for any and all avenues to help speed up, your creative process.
Oh, definitely. And I personally love ZBrush. It's one of my favorite. Well, I might even say it's my favorite software, because when I started and when I work in it, the moment you put this the brush on your sculpting and sculpt it, it just feels so it makes so much fun just to use the software, even if you're doodling something completely unusable. It's just plain fun, and that's something I don't even get from Photoshop. That just using the tools is so much fun,
right?
And I use it a lot. What I do mostly is make a ZBrush sculpting of each major character, so that I can work on the look from all angles. And for chapter 6, I've made a ZBrush sculpting of the whole city that we are seeing.
Right. Wow.
So it's not very detailed, but you can in the sculpting you can see different houses. You can see they are even painted. I painted roofs on the houses. At least I sketched those, and I have a complete maquette, so to say, of this city, so that I can orient myself in it and see where the places are, what's the distance between them, and what it would look like if you are sitting in the bazaar, for example, and look up to the palace and to the mountaintop. And this is a great help. Wow. And you know the old masters would have done this stuff in clay or
right.
as real models. And if you look at great illustrators like James Gurney, for example, who builds those cool maquettes for all his major paintings, where he creates the buildings out of styrofoam and clay and stuff like that, just to get the lighting right for a certain light situation. This is really cool, and I really love ZBrush because it's fun, it's quick. You can paint your stuff when you have modeled it, and it's a great software.
So now with ZBrush, I mean, painting or sculpting a city, I mean, I've always thought, and this is probably just my own lack of knowledge, that ZBrush is used for mostly organic stuff, but I'm surprised that you sculpted a city, which is obviously very geometric.
Yeah, you might want to have a look at it. I guess you see a picture of it in my latest blog post if you would visit it. It's a very rough model. So a building, when I say there's a building, it's one brush stroke with a hard-edged brush that elevates a little part of the model so that it sticks out a little bit. If just as if you had sticked a little piece of clay there. And right. I'm not talking about right angles and stuff like that. So ZBrush has some interesting functions to do hard surface modeling, like it's called. But I would say its best purpose is to use it on organic forms, characters, creatures, and stuff like that.
Right. And so ZBrush costs money. It's like $700 if you're not academic, correct? Is that similar, right? You guys?
Yeah, that's right. When I bought it a few years ago, it was about 500 euros, I guess. Which would translate to about $700, I guess.
Right.
But the cool thing is, and this is unique actually, since I bought it 5 years ago or what, they never charged a single dollar for an update.
That's great.
So I don't know how long they will carry this policy, but. Up to this date, you received all major updates, all version updates for free as a user, and this is no company does this normally.
Right. Interesting. I love it. Go ahead, Matt.
I gotta ask, because your work is just definitely very inspiring. Have you ever done any like video tutorial kind of stuff, or if not, would you?
Well, actually, since a few years, I'm doing video trainings for a company called Video to Brain. It's an Austrian company, and those are mostly in German. 2 years ago or so, I actually produced 2 of those videos in English language, and those now were carried over to lynda.com, which acquired Video to Brain a few months ago.
Didn't know that.
And those are available. And I have a YouTube channel where you will find 4 making of videos, which were created in 2011 as incentives for the Kickstarter campaign I had back then. Basically, those 4 videos got unlocked, reaching different goals of the funding.
Right.
And there you find a breakdown of my illustration process. Although I have to say that after a few years now, I've learned a few more tricks. So I might think about doing an update of these making of videos.
Right. I briefly looked at your YouTube channel and I was like, oh, I got to come back to that because that looks like a lot of content that I want to know about. So going to totally do that. Also, that Sculptress you were mentioning at the start of this conversation, Joel, that you said that's free.
It is, yeah.
And what do you know about it? So is it kind of like an introduction kind of level to the ZBrush?
Yeah, from what I can tell, it's got several of ZBrush's main tools.
Right.
I haven't actually tried it yet, but it came with like a PDF, like how to get started, how to start a file, how to get a sculpt going.
Right.
And I can't remember how I heard about it. I think it was just like somebody on DeviantArt was talking about it. And then because I was also curious about ZBrush and trying to learn it myself, and then I thought, well, hey, cool. Here's this free alternative that's made by the same company that makes ZBrush. And the sell feature for me, or not the sell feature, but the download was for me was that the files that you can create with Sculptress, if at some point later on you buy ZBrush, you can import the stuff that you create with Sculptress. I can't remember the type of file. It's some sort of exclusive file system to ZBrush and Sculptress. But then you can also render out the images with the same ZBrush renderer or something like that, or another renderer that the company makes.
Right.
And it so it allows you to kind of have like a bit of a workflow, I guess, for just kind of like getting your feet wet. It seems like a lot of companies these days are doing kind of like hey, here's a dumbed down version, which may suit all your needs. Like if you're only doing prototyping and just kind of giving yourself a springboard for a painting, then I don't know that you'd have to go buy ZBrush. I mean, depending on what your other, jobs would entail. So I haven't had a chance to play with it, but it sounds like, much like Daniel was saying, that it's just going to be fun. Like even if I'm not doing anything really functional or useful, it might just be fun to kind of like, try to sculpt a dragon head or just, see what happy accidents come out of it and see what drawings that might inspire,
Right.
And what I'd like to add to this is that a lot of people might think, oh well, I'm concentrated on painting and drawing, and this is hard enough. I don't want to go into sculpting too, so much work. But what I experienced is that sculpting, the sculpting experience so much connects with your drawing skills, so that what you will see is if you already can draw, you will see that sculpting will come really easy for you because it's basically it's the same thing, only in 3 dimensions. But it works. It uses the same pattern recognition that you use for drawing. And on the other hand, if you're sculpting, you will find that you get a very nice feeling for the 3-dimensionality of forms and shapes and how shapes are connected to 3-dimensional form, and it definitely helps your drawing skills. So you're not it's a symbiosis, I would say. I would recommend everyone to try both.
That's a good job, and I actually downloaded it while we were talking, and I'm gonna try that later on today. I'm gonna blow it up. So Daniel, you did mention that it may not be a really large learning curve because you probably know a lot of the basics as an artist lots of times. How do you find time to make sure that you're balancing, the fun part of learning with the productivity of getting things out? Do you ever struggle with that, or is it more natural to you? You feel like you're in a good groove?
Oh, that's a pretty good question because by now I would say I have landed at a very fixed workflow for my work, especially on the Wormworld Saga, and I'm not doing so much beside it. So it's pretty much what I'm doing all day. And there are times where I've got the feeling that I maybe should take a step back from my work and look at it with fresh eyes. And that's it's not easy to do because you're so into it. And it's definitely a problem to get too much used to a specific workflow, and then not being able to go beyond that. And I'm very aware of this problem,
right?
But it's not so easy to work against it.
Right. Interesting. I guess it's just a constant struggle. I guess you have to reevaluate yourself as an artist quite frequently.
Yeah, but what you have to see also, and I'm just starting to understand this, is if you see a really refined style in an artist, where you say, oh man, this is a really slick style. He's knowing what he's doing. This is normally the result of years and years of using the same workflow and the same exact style.
Right.
But I see it in my own work that you start to anticipate stuff when you go to the next panel, and you know exactly how to do something. And this is a good and a bad thing at the same time, because it makes for a result you can rely on, a reliable result. But it also means that you might not take other interesting options that would maybe even produce a more interesting result. So
sure, I get that. You know that we've totally swung this around. Last time we were total nerd balls and didn't talk about technique at all. This time we've hardly talked about any of the stupid social nerd stuff, but I've really enjoyed this. So if maybe somebody can go back and they can mix the two together into like this super show of great balance.
Oh, yes,
right?
Yes.
So that would be wonderful if you could do that for us.
Yeah.
So we have about 15 more minutes, and I wanted to make sure we had time to talk about your Kickstarter project, which is you're right on the what you got, like 24 more days for getting the Wormworld Saga book.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are at, well, I don't know if it makes sense to talk numbers because this is
ever changing,
published a little bit later, but we are on a very good way to the funding goal. I think we are 80% right now, and well, the goal is to finally get the English book edition of the Wormworld Saga, which is requested by a lot of people.
Right.
And well, I don't want to sound like a scratch record, because you will hear the exact same stuff if you watch the Kickstarter video. But the Kickstarter basically is my try to accomplish this without relying on an English publisher, which just didn't work. I tried it for over 3 years now, but for some reason there's I couldn't find a publisher that would be interested to produce an English Wormworld Saga book. And now we're doing it on our own, and it looks good. I think it will work.
I like that. I've seen shots of the. Of course, you can go online and see Wormworld Saga, and you can see the beautiful work that Daniel does. But there's something just magical about seeing that stuff physically in your hands that just takes it to the next level. And I'm looking at your level of rewards, and they are very reasonable for what you're getting, because this book it's a hardback book, right?
It's hard. It's hardcover, right?
It's hardcover, and to get the book, to get to the physical level, you can do less, but to get to the physical book level, it starts at $25, right?
And it's worldwide shipping included. That's very important, because normally
is insanely cheap.
Yeah. The interesting fact is that fortunately, it is quite cheap to send anything that weighs less than 1 kilogram anywhere in the world. So the shipping fee is not killing us there, and this is something that you hear frequently when you research other Kickstarter campaigns. They start to talk about how the shipping fees killed them, and this is something. It's really easy to send stuff from Germany into the world. I don't know why it is that way, but I'm really happy.
It's by design. You Germans.
We are an export nation, so
right.
Yeah, comes natural to us. Yeah.
Well, and to give everybody some perspective, like when I ship a book, which again weighs less than a kilogram, to anywhere outside of the continental North America, it costs me almost $20 just for the shipping.
That's because we're trying to keep
and that's a soft cover book.
Okay, then let's talk numbers here. I guess our shipping is €7 for the book, which is about $9.
Wow.
Worldwide shipping.
So that's half. of what I look at for worldwide shipping.
So the world does not want what Canada is serving. Is that what we're hearing? They're trying to unfairly tax that thing coming out of there.
Look, between that and the halt that Canada Customs puts on what should be overnight shipping from FedEx is really 3-day shipping, because Canada Customs holds on to stuff for like 2 days. It's ridiculous. So
you just imagine them sitting there just looking at it, just I'm not sending it yet.
Yeah. Well, because okay, sure. There's obviously sometimes some packages might be fishy, but it's a book, man.
Right.
I know your dog sniffs it and it's a book. I know you look at it and it's a book. Your X-Berry machine says it's a book. Just send the damn book.
No, imagine a single poor dog having to go through and sniff everything.
But what's in the book, ideas are really dangerous.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Actually, while we're talking about what's in the book, was it a challenge? Because I know online, Wormworld is basically just all vertical scrolling. It's almost stream of consciousness. Yeah. Was it a challenge to kind of break all that up into pages?
Yeah, fortunately, it wasn't a challenge for me, because the way the book came to life was that I was contacted by Tokyopop, a comic publisher here in Germany, which is not to be confused with the American Tokyopop. It's a different company with its own management. It's not the same. No.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it started out as a branch.
Right.
The German Tokyopop started out as a branch of the American Tokyopop, but the American Tokyopop went belly up some time ago, and this did not.
I thought they just ran to Germany.
No. It is a completely different company.
Right.
And they contacted me and they suggested to try to make a book edition. And you're right. The vertical scrolling format it does not lend itself to book publishing, and I actually never thought about it myself, or I thought it would never be possible. But I'm illustrating everything as separate panels, so all the artwork is separated.
Right.
And what Tokyopop basically did is they took all the panels and they created a page layout for it. And I didn't have to bother with it. And I have to say I was really surprised by the result. Because it not only worked pretty well that they separated it into different pages, but I would even say that at some points you even have an effect in the book that's nicer than on the internet, because you have those double spread images that are really look really epic when you have them in the book. And that's a device, a visual device that I don't have on the internet. So it's its own medium and has its own merits, and I really love how it turned out.
It looks good. I'm actually on the tokyopop.de, which is the German page, and of course Google allows you to translate if you're using Google Chrome. And I'm seeing on currently they've got your chapter 6. It's coming live event to the new chapter on August 17th.
Oh yeah.
So. Wow.
That was a blast. Yeah, the live event was really cool.
Right.
I just pointed the webcam at myself at the very moment when I pushed the button to launch the latest chapter, and it was very cool. And we had 1.5 hours of question and answers after that. I spilled my water bottle over my keyboard halfway through, and it was fun. It was fun.
So I want to hear that you recover from that, right? I mean, you recovered from the keyboard water spilling thing, right?
That actually was no problem. It nothing broke. It's just dried up and everything's
I'll tell you,
fine.
on WormWorldSaga.com you have the attic, which is aptly named for the area that you work at, and as well as a subscription service.
Right.
And I noticed in the picture of your work area, of course, you've got your Cintiq off on one side, and you have a nice little tablet, another Wacom tablet right there in the middle, and then you have this ancient IBM-looking iSeries mainframe keyboard. Is that the one you spilt the water on? That old-looking keyboard thing?
No. This is an old picture. No, I have one of those slim notebook-style keyboards.
We call them little chiclet keys, little small.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And fortunately it was kind of waterproof.
Good.
didn't break, which was very fortunate because on a live stream it would be very awkward to have a burning PC.
Right.
Besides,
and I've got to go.
Yeah, for some reasons.
Right. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I hate that I missed that because I would have. I didn't know
well,
that was going on.
You can actually see a recording of it on YouTube. The whole thing is recorded and available on the YouTube channel too.
Very good. I'm gonna go back and check out that full video.
It's 2 hours long. So.
Oh, is it only 2 hours long?
Yeah,
that's good. I'd watch that. What are you talking about? But I'm down
leave
with
me
it.
a comment there. So
I will leave you a comment. Don't think I won't.
All right.
I'll leave you a comment.
Nice.
All right.
So is chapter 6 the largest chapter so far?
Oh boy, yes. And it was so much work. It was actually to a point that I was overwhelmed by the work because I got into regions of work hours there that I had never anticipated. I guess I put over 700 hours into the whole chapter.
Wow.
And I divide my work. I always divide my work into milestones. I have always 5 milestones on each chapter. And I remember that the second milestone of chapter 6 took me more time than the whole first chapter of the Wormworld Saga. So I could have painted the whole first chapter in only this second milestone of chapter 6. You had a big city panoramas in this milestone. You had the bazaar scene, which is kind of impressionistic, and it was killing me.
Oh yeah,
now that begs
crowd
the question.
So go ahead, Matt.
I was just saying that begs the question: what are the 5 milestones?
That's
well,
secret.
The 5 milestones are pretty simply just every time I've illustrated 20% of the chapter, and I'm just measuring it by pixels, because I have a total height of the chapter, which is 1 vertical page, so to say. And if I reach 20% of that height, I call it a milestone, and I just go from milestone to milestone.
Interesting. I like that. That's just part of your workflow, though, man. Would you say that a lot of your workflow is attributed to probably a really strict regimen when you were working in the gaming industry? Was it a lot? It was a lot probably tighter.
I don't know. You need small goals. If you open up, if you start working on a chapter that's 100,000 pixels high, which is the case in chapter 6. You just have to break it down into smaller goals. Right. And this milestone plan just provides me those reachable goals. 20% is something that you can imagine to do, actually. Normally, on normal chapters or on all the other chapters, it takes me about 2 weeks to reach a milestone. In this case, I had up to 6 weeks for one milestone. It was really, really hard.
Wow.
But I do an update on the blog for each milestone update, and it also keeps the audience a little bit engaged, because what's pretty special with my project, and not necessarily in a good way, to be honest, is that my updates are pretty spread out. So the last chapter 5 was published over 1 year ago. And normally my goal is to publish a chapter every 4 months or 5 months at least. And this is a lot of time, and it's not so easy to connect to the readers over such a long time. And I need those milestones to send out those little messages that I'm still living, that I'm still working on it. You have to break it down in some way.
Right.
It's such an interesting kind of way to do a web comic, or I guess a web story, because so much of the time we're told, like, you have to be consistent with your updates, you have to keep your readers coming back, and with your chapters being longer and more work intensive, I mean, like, those goals not only just keeping you sane, also keep readers. And I've noticed, because I mean, I'm part of the attic, and I get the updates. I'm just like, oh, he's at 60%. That's soon, and it keeps you informed as a reader and as a fan, so that when you do publish, it's not like just noise into the social media ether. You know, like you're like, no, okay, I'm expecting him to email me next week or something to tell me that this is going to be done. And I remember when we were setting up the second interview that originally we were going to try to sit down with you in July, and then we ended up postponing because, you know, you knew that you weren't going to have the chapter finished, or you weren't going to have the chapter and the Kickstarter ready at the time. Yeah. And it allowed, I mean, like both from the podcast side, but also as a fan, me to just kind of keep tabs on everything. So, I mean, you mentioned that you have like, you know, 700 hours that you put into this. You obviously keep track of a lot of stuff, you know, as you're going through this. I mean, what kind of social media tabs have you been keeping, you know, in terms of the effect of working on these longer and longer chapters as you're rolling through Wormworld Saga?
Yeah, you know, as I said, it's a challenge with a schedule like that, several months between different updates. You need to find ways to let people know about a new update, because if you have the typical webcomic that updates once a week or twice or 3 times a week, you have your audience there every week, right. And then they see when something happens. But when after 4 months or in this case even after a year, I have a new chapter. The challenge is to let people know, and well, I would say I have all the standards running. Currently, the Facebook fan page that everyone kind of has, the Twitter, the DeviantArt, and what I was doing over the last week after the launch was firing into those channels all the time to let people know. Here's the new chapter, and it's really interesting because you see how the different channels work very differently. Because, for example, on the Facebook page, I actually have to pay to let all my followers know that that a new chapter is up.
Interesting.
Because there's 10,000 people signed up on the Facebook page, but when I post an update on my page, only about 1,500 to up to 2,000 people get this posting, and you've got to use the Facebook boosting to reach to all the people that are following you. Right, and that's very interesting to experiment with. And on Twitter, for example, I experimented a lot in the last few days. I started with simple text messages. Then I started to actually post panel artwork, and I noticed that those were were retweeted much more often than my text tweets. And then I started to put complete excerpts of the chapters, so a few rows of panels with word balloons in it, into the Twitter feed, and those were shared very nicely too. And it's really interesting to experiment what actually works in the different channels.
These days, it feels like visual with any kind of image is definitely the way to go. I'm seeing it on everything from artists I follow, webcomics, to news outlets. I mean, like there'll be a story about, you know, some Canadian politician, and it's really just not anything crazy, but I'll stop and look at the headline because there's a photo that goes along with the Twitter post, and a lot of either Twitter apps or other services that you use will embed that photo. So next to a Twitter post that's just text, the picture just grabs your eye more naturally, you know. And then when you're dealing with, like, you know, your bright, colorful, you know, artwork, I mean, I can see that making a huge difference in social media.
And, you know, I would even say you have to consider video a lot more than I personally am used to, because I had an interesting challenge the other day. I'm on a website which is called DrawCrowd, which is basically it's a portfolio website where a lot of digital artists have their work on display. And the thing is that now I wanted to let my followers on DrawCrowd know that there's a new chapter and that there's a Kickstarter campaign. But all you can do on DrawCrowd is to post pictures and videos. You could not just put a text message there that says, hey, I've got a new Kickstarter campaign. So what I'm using there is to post a video which contains all the information, and the people click on the video and they get the information. And should we reach the funding goal of the Kickstarter, this will be, for example, my way to call out for fan artists, because one of my goals for the English book is to have international fan art in it, and I will use videos a lot to call out for artists and give them all the details in a short video, which I guess is much more likely to be spread among the internet than a text message or a blog post of stuff like that.
Right,
so
right.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I can confess to looking at, people sharing YouTube videos, and I go to play them, and I go, oh, this is 9 minutes long. I'm not watching this, like, or
Yeah.
I
say,
don't
"Oh,
have that kind of attention span.
It's a minute and a half. I can do that before, I move on to my next task, because I feel like, 9 minutes kind of feels like a break from whatever I'm doing. It's like, well, I can't really take a break right now. And then the chances of me going back to that video later are pretty slim unless I'm like subscribed to it on YouTube. But if it's just a 1 minute or 2 minute announcement from somebody, I definitely feel, a little bit easier to just kind of like, take a few minutes, take it like, literally like, 90 seconds to watch this video in my Twitter feed and then move on. Certainly, video seems to be taking a bigger, rise for artists that don't do animation, like that don't do video. They do still work, like in comic work. I'm looking at Draw Crowd right now, and I mean, like, the art on here is incredible.
Yeah.
I think I know what I'm doing for the rest of the afternoon.
Right.
Smoke.
Yeah.
So have you started to receive fan art from people on Draw Crowd?
Well, we're not there yet. I'm
okay.
going to call for submissions as soon as we reach our funding goal.
It's a stretch goal, right? Okay.
And it doesn't make sense to call out for artists to submit artwork for a book that's not funded yet.
Right.
So this is the first thing I'm going to do. Should we reach the funding goal? And I'm really looking forward to that, because I love to connect to other artists. I'm very much a community guy and artist community guy, so I'm really excited to find out what reactions might come if I make a call for submissions there. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm totally distracted right now with this draw.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's you've got all the game artists and concept artists on Draw Crowd, and it's kind of there a few months ago a website shut down which was called CG Hub.
Right,
and
right.
CG Hub was something like Draw Crowd. It was a little bit more sophisticated, and everyone was there, and it was shut down overnight. And it was a great loss for a lot of people, because a lot of people even managed their commissioned artwork over CG Hub. They communicated with their commissioners, with their customers over the messaging system of CG Hub, and it all broke down overnight and left those people hanging in the air. And I guess Draw Crowd is a little bit a new place for all the people that originally were on CG Hub.
Right. I didn't even know CG Hub had shut down.
I knew CG Hub had shut down, but I mean, how do people connect on Draw Crowd if you can't do anything but post pictures and videos? Like,
you can like people, you can follow people.
Oh, and you can, and then of course they'd have their contact information, like Twitter or whatever, to get commissions, right?
Yes, true.
Yeah. Interesting. I will have to sign up for this.
Wow. Very good. Very good. All right. So that's it. That's all the time we have. So if there's anything else you want to add to that? I mean, you want to kind of get people to come to your website, maybe sign up for the Attic, because you have the Attic stuff that gives you all the behind the scenes stuff as well, right?
Did you have a chance to see the new HD feature on the Attic?
I have not seen the new HD feature.
Yeah, do that, because with Chapter 6 I started to have a double-sized version of the chapters,
right?
Which easily fills a 27-inch screen, full screen. Right. And it's spectacular, and it's one feature of the subscription area, which is called the Attic. Yeah, I'm trying to improve this all the time, because this is what I just love the making of stuff, and this is a place for it.
It's so rich too. I'll tell you now. A lot of people have subscription services and stuff, but you have so much stuff, so much content on the Attic. I mean, you keep up with it too. That's what I love about it. And it's fairly inexpensive. And whether you're someone who just loves behind the scenes kind of look at art, or if you're actually a cartoonist who's kind of looking and wants a little bit of peek to some of the stuff that you do before us in its final form, I would definitely suggest joining up on the attic on Wormworld. And the best place to sign up is WormWorldSaga, right? .com.
Yeah, you'll find all the links and stuff and information about all the features. And go to WormWorldSaga.com, read the comic. It's all for free. I would love to have a lot of people reading the content. And if you're then interested in more, consider to become a member of the attic. And that's all I'm dreaming for.
Yeah. By the way, also, I love you have in a lot of your shots, you have of you in your studio, you have that big 12-inch alien on your desk. I love that thing.
Yeah. Me too. Right. And my 3-year-old son also loves it. He has no idea about the fact that it's a cruel monster.
Right. Who cares? Look how cool it is.
He will learn it.
Yeah.
Someday he will watch the movie.
That's right.
Wow.
Also can follow, but by the way, Daniel, thank you so much for coming back on the show. And I feel like we need to have a part 3 because I feel like we still didn't get
yeah, we didn't talk about the story again, but we just will make an appointment for chapter 7.
That's right. Exactly.
I think the issue is that I never want to spoil the story for people.
Yes.
So unless we know that everybody's read up to chapter 6, we should have you back for like a spoiler episode and just tell everybody flat out we're just going to talk about everything that's happened so far because
cool.
It's such a good story. I never want to get into too much detail because then you end up spoiling stuff for people.
Exactly.
That's true. Yeah.
But we can do that. We can make a spoiler show where we just say, hey, you know what? Before you listen to this, you better go read because we're about to talk about all of those characters and all the things that happened to them.
I would certainly enjoy it, and thanks for having me on this show again.
Absolutely, we love it. We love it. We don't make special, requests for many people, but Daniel,
I feel so
man,
bad.
Right? You're the best. All right,
you guys,
get out of here. All right, thank you so much, Daniel. Also, want to thank Joel Duggan of Starcrossed Online. You can follow Joel at Joel Duggan on Twitter, right?
That's my name on Twitter.
Right.
That's my name on Patreon. It's kind of if you just look for Joel Duggan everywhere, you can just find me. It's pretty easy to find me.
Excellent. Also, Matt, thank you so much. I'm glad you made it this time because I enjoyed you greatly.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like I stepped over some people every once in a while, but I was just so damn excited. I had to learn some stuff.
Step over all you want, brother. Also, follow you at Matt_MattTheWad.com
and on Twitter, Matt_the_Wad.
Very good. You can follow me at the Brian Dunaway. Follow everything I do on the website at BrianDunaway.com. Follow us on ComicsCoastToCoast.com. You can get to our Twitter there. You can get to our Facebook. You can see these videos. You can see old shows we've done. You can go back and listen to the last episode. As a matter of fact, if you're finishing this episode and you want a tasty little treat after that, we have some great dessert for you at 187 where we interviewed Daniel last time. That's it. I had a great time, great show, and we'll see you next week.
What on earth is that? I was like, that's a bird.
It totally sounded like an eagle had landed in the.
Yeah, it was like caw, caw, caw.
I was like, you okay, Joel? Are you still with us?
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Burn it.